Okay, so question 5, and the diagram represents 6 developmental stages that might be seen within an ovary during a menstrual cycle. State which of these numbered stages represents ovulation. So let's think, what is ovulation? Ovulation is when the egg inside a follicle is released from that follicle. So we can see here 1, 2, and 3, we can see the egg inside the follicle. 4 is where we see the follicle rupturing. So that tells us that 4 is going to be where ovulation takes place. And then after ovulation takes place, the follicle then becomes another structure, which is called the corpus luteum, which you can see at stage 5. So, part B, at the end of the menstrual cycle, progesterone concentration decreases. Describe the process that leads to this decrease. So, we're talking about the end of the menstrual cycle. Let's look at a little image here. So, we're really thinking about this section here. Okay, so we've done the first couple stages: menstruation, follicular phase, ovulation. Now we're thinking about this phase. We've got a corpus luteum. Now remember, it's the corpus luteum that's going to secrete progesterone. And what's going to help sustain this corpus luteum? LH. So if we have a decrease in progesterone concentration, it must be because two things are happening. Number one, you've got a decrease in LH levels, and that's going to in turn then cause the corpus luteum to regress. And that's what you can see up here. The corpus luteum has come from being nice and big, and it's regressing, it's regressing. It's because these LH levels, you can see in this red line here, start to decrease. So for your 2 marks for this question, you need to say those two things. So number one, you've got a decrease in LH levels. And then if we ask ourselves, why is that important that we've got a decrease in LH levels? Well, the reason it's important is because this is going to lead to the degeneration of the corpus luteum. Describe one effect of the decrease in progesterone concentration. So what happens in the menstrual cycle when we've got low progesterone? Let's look at this image again. That's the last part of the menstrual cycle. So what's going to happen after we have low progesterone is we're going to go right back to the beginning of the cycle, which you can see is menstruation. There's many different things you could have said here to get the answer. Let's just look at a few of the things that they've put to get the answer here. So you could have said it causes menstruation, breakdown of the endometrium, or you could have said that the pituitary gland is going to release FSH, and that's basically signaling to the start of the cycle, or you have no more pituitary inhibition from your progesterone because your progesterone levels are low. And finally here, one treatment for infertility in women is to administer drugs to stimulate ovulation. Describe the action of these drugs. So if you're trying to stimulate ovulation, again, it's really good to have a diagram like this. If you're trying to stimulate ovulation, you're trying to do what? You're trying to increase FSH so that you can have a nice developing follicle. Then you want to increase LH so that you can actually rupture that follicle and cause an ovulation to take place. So if you want to give drugs for infertility, what you might want to do is you might want to do two things. You might want to, number one, mimic the action of FSH and LH. Or you might want to stop the negative feedback effect of estrogen on FSH. Because here, as you produce FSH, the follicle is going to develop. As the follicle develops, it produces estrogen, and that estrogen is going to cause a decrease in FSH. But you don't want that. So you want the negative feedback from estrogen on FSH to stop. So you want it to have uninhibited FSH production so that you can ovulate and create eggs.